We figured it out. What's up, everybody? Before we hop into this juicy episode that Peaches and I had, this is one of those episodes where we thought we had a plan and then the plan punched us in the mouth and then we didn't talk about the plan. But you know what we do want to talk about? Let's talk about Defend. They got everything. They got a Black Friday sale that's going on right now. You should definitely go check them out. Go to defendusa.com. They've got 20% off their entire site right now. It's fantastic. That's everything from men's to women's to sleepwear to infrared recovery stuff, enhanced performance stuff, anything that you need to wear underneath all of your tactical gear. And it's not just for people that are preparing for the Air Force Special Warfare pipelines, baby. I'm talking police, I'm talking fire, I'm talking first responder, anything. If you want to perform at your best, go to Defend USA. You can check out their Black Friday sale, but you know what we'd really like you to do? Throw that code in, the ONESREADY code. We got a code over there. You know we do. We're going to get you a sweet discount. It's gonna tell the guys from Defend who we love, right? American made. These folks are run by special operations veterans. A good friend of ours, Sam, is our friend over at Defend USA. So go to defendusa.com, check out everything that they've got. Use the code ONESREADY at checkout. I am literally right now building a cart of women's stuff because the women's compression gear, super fire. Super fire. That, and I think I said this before, but I live in a very American household, except when it comes to clothing, because that quarter zip, that black hoodie, the waffle top hoodie that Defend has, that immediately became our hoodie here at our house. So I'm just going to get another one. Just going to go ahead and get that. They got all kinds of dope colors. The blacks, the blues are awesome. The compression stuff, they got the tactical stuff. They got tops, bottoms, jackets, technical gear, stuff for training, anything. They've got an entire section on just fire, like being like a fireman stuff, which is super duper dope. Like if you are in that space, go check it out. Go to defendusa.com. Use our code ONESREADY at checkout. That's all one word, ONESREADY, ONESREADY at checkout. You're going to get a sweet discount all the time. Go check them out for Black Friday. Make sure you're picking some stuff up. Check out the infrared sleepwear. It is the coolest stuff on the face of the planet. Like it blows my mind. Like the infrared recovery sleepwear.
Well, the cool thing is you can wear all of that while you're training for the pipeline. When you use 18 Alpha Fitness, it helps when you say it right, though.
I love it. Yeah, it does.
You got to say it right.
You better say it right or pay the price.
Yeah, exactly. Coach Ed's over there at 18 Alpha Fitness, promo code the number one ready, and he'll get you ready for the pipeline, whether it's the Air Force, NSW, or Navy Special War, or Army Special Forces, Ranger School. He's got training programs that are designed for each one of those, some heavy rucking, some heavy running, some heavy water con, that kind of stuff. And then what he'll do is, as he's talking to you, he's going to say, hey, how long before you go in? What's your current fitness level? And then what do you need to be at? Because I need to know what pipeline you're going to do. Even if it's not a pipeline, you just want to get in better shape, you can do that too. But, he'll take those three variables and figure out what's the best plan for you and how aggressive we need to go. And he'll take you there. And he's got, he was, if you're not familiar with what an 18 Alpha was or is, it is a Green Beret officer. So like he's been there, he's done that. He knows what it takes to be in the special operations. So 18 Alpha Fitness or 18A fitness.com, promo code number one ready. And then like if you're going to need recovery after that, probably some Kill Cliff, I'm guessing.
Probably some Kill Cliff. I'll tell you what, the Kill Cliff, the entire line is absolutely fantastic. I love the entire Kill Cliff line. When I first saw I can't remember what the Joe drink is called. Joe Rogan has a spicy pineapple drink. And I was like, I'd tried some other ones, like some other, spicy drinks and stuff. And I was just like, oh, here we go. That jalapeno pineapple is fire. Every time I reach to grab it out of the fridge, I laugh because I get to see Joe Rogan's face. And it is so freaking good. The recovery drinks are great. The CBD, I am out. He just can't say that he drinks CBD because that's illegal. Thanks, draconian military. So he definitely doesn't do that. But I do. When these packs come for me, I show up to Jared's house. I'm like, give me that orange CBD drink right now. It's got like 20, 25 milligrams of CBD. I steal the entire case from Peaches. And then, I make sure to report him to the IG as necessary. But Kill Cliff is awesome. They're a fantastic company. We had our friend Baker on. Baker Levitt is the man for hooking up the Kill Cliff. So go over to Kill Cliff, wherever it is that you can find them. They have them everywhere. They've got them at the shopettes. They've got them out in the wild. But, man, it'd be really cool if you went to the Kill Cliff site and used our code. Jared, what's that code?
It is podcast KC20.
Podcast KC20.
We're working to get it changed to ONESREADY, but I mean, give that a shot. Maybe that'll work too. But right now it's podcast KC 20.
Podcast KC20 over at the Kill Cliff site. Listen, if you need to sleep a little bit better, I'm telling you, those CBD drinks, fantastic. Just a little bit of calming, a little bit of injury prevention and recovery. It's perfect. You partner, man, you have a hard workout with 18 Alpha Fitness. You use the code ONESREADY over with Edge. You put on that compression gear from Defend USA. That's the code ONESREADY over at defendusa.com. And then to finish your night off, you have a little CBD podcast KC20 with Killcliff. Forget about it. It's a pretty solid day. That. Forget about it. Come on. It's a pretty good day training for Spec War, isn't it? Hey. Terrible. That's we offended everybody with this intro. It's usually your partners want you to take their ad reads seriously, but they knew what they were getting into. So
this is amateur hour over here.
It's 100% amateur.
All right, enjoy the episode.
Later. I got one called Blue Ribbon. I got a hookup. I'm making these connects, but I can drop a name. I can get you treated like royalty, big baby.
Like me.
A tiny baby Jesus.
And everybody else out there knows that I like to be treated like royalty.
Everybody does. Everybody likes to be taken care of. It feels good for somebody to, when you now hey, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. It's the ONESREADY podcast. It's me, it's Peaches. We're going to talk about stuff. We're going to specifically talk about what cool schools you can go to. But listen, there's a reason why in the opening theme of Cheers said it's good to go where everybody knows your name. You know, it feels good to be recognized. The first time that you pass a line, the first time that you know somebody and you walk past a line of people that are waiting to get in and you just walk right in, you know, you walk to a back room, you get a table. Mm-hmm. Listen, that's intoxicating. That's why people, that little bit of power, and by the way, so little power will never go to your head so quickly because you'll go from one of those people that was just standing in line and be like, poor people, y'all, huh? Look at all these poors standing in line.
Y'all.
Hide your money, y'all. There's poor people around here. You can't do that around here. No, but that's why power is intoxicating. That's why people do stuff. Because when you start passing the line as a standard, when people start knowing your name and calling you Mr. Whoever, oh, Mr. Love, right this way. We've been expecting you. Of course your ego gets screwed up. Of course you start thinking stupid stuff. And then like people are like, I don't know, it's more of a tangent than anything else. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But that's why but that's why the statement of nothing corrupts like money and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Because when you don't have those guardrails or those emergency brakes on your life, and we see it with everything, right? You can apply that to the anonymity of the internet. You used to get punched in the face for saying stuff to people. You used to, if you threatened me in real, you used to have to slap me with your glove in order to disrespect me. But people forget there was a pistol fight that followed that. Like there was a duel. Like we got to go outside. One of us got to go, dog. You know what I mean? But like, you know, you have that power or you have that little whatever, and it starts corrupting you. Those little things. Maybe I am more important than the average human. You know, one of my favorite clips. It was actually on 2A, but it was Tucker Carlson. And Tucker Carlson just dismantled Eric Swalwell about the Second Amendment. And his question was like, why do your bodyguards, why are they allowed to have a gun that is more powerful than my wife? What makes you more important? And he could not answer. And he tried to pivot. He tried to talk about it. He's like, I'm talking about our military. You don't respect our military. And Tucker did a good job of keeping. He's like, no. You tell me why my wife doesn't deserve the same level of protection as your bodyguards give you. Because we're not talking about your bodyguards giving up their gun, but that level of power really does corrupt you. It really does. And it should always make you think, wait a second, like, this person is probably not a good person.
So I mean, we won't hit it during this one, but
yeah, I promise we're going to get to something resembling
do a little bit of research.
Topic.
I think that would actually be a good episode to do. Maybe it would be a members only episode, but where some of the perks that since we were talking about, and it's in the news right now in terms of there's going to be a general officer purge, the Department of Government Efficiency, plus the Pentagon just failed its 7th audit in a row.
7th audit, $824 billion, and you know, like. Real quick on this one. Somebody, and I think it was, I think I want to credit Wild Bill Adams with this one. I think this is where I picked it up. great human being. But he was like, that I think I remember, or I placed these words in a context where he was, so I can't say it specifically, but it's not inflammatory. It's actually good. But he said there's always the difference between ignorance and negligence. And the line is maliciousness for there, right? Okay, so the Pentagon failed its 7th audit in a row. So are you wildly incompetent? Like, are you just so ignorant that you can't balance a budget or whatever? Or at this point, do you have to assume maliciousness and it's just negligent? Because the findings of that report, and it takes like 5 paragraphs to read down, the findings of the report weren't only that they couldn't account for it, but they told them, the people that were doing the audit were like, all right, give me all of this information. And the DOD was like, nah.
There's compartmentalized and classified stuff you can't see in there.
They didn't even say that. They didn't even give them a list of programs that were like, hey, okay, we spent $2 billion on this program, but it's compartmentalized. I can't tell you what it is. They didn't even do that. So it's at this point, you're like, no, these people hate you. I've been having a running conversation about these picks, about Gates and his baggage and Hegseth and what did he say this or did he say that? And it literally is taking me like 3 pages of this conversation saying the same thing over and over and over again, which is, I don't trust any of these people. And if you sit here and you pretend like these people have your best interest in mind and that this is just it's just, I just want the best. I think America can be the shining example. You're an idiot. You're a Pollyanna. You are naive, right? To look at the 7th audit in a row that we can't tell you where $824 billion of your taxpayer funds went to. Nearly $1 trillion, more than 3/4 of $1 trillion, which is impossible for the human mind to even conceptualize.
Yep.
And they were just like, nah, dog. What are you going to do? It's the same thing they did in COVID. It's the same thing they did for Afghanistan. It's the same thing they did with whatever. And we talked about the general purge on the members only yesterday, so I won't relitigate that entire episode.
We're committed now. Let's go.
Right.
We're committed. I don't want to members only, or maybe it's a public, but whatever.
I think this one is a public because I think it needs to get out there because we deal with it too. And I'm going to make myself a little note. Like we deal with, man, when you're a PJ, when you have a combat control beret on, everybody thinks you're a badass, everybody thinks you're awesome, everybody thinks you're elite, and they will gas you up. There will be people that. And this doesn't happen anywhere else in the world, really, right? It happened very, very few other places. Will somebody that trying for AFSPEC war literally ruined their life for a couple of years. They trained for a year or so. They got in. They thought they were going to do it. They told their family we're going to do it. Then they failed. Then they had to deal with failure. Then they had to deal with a new job in the Air Force. And none of that stops them from coming up to you completely unannounced and uninvited at a chow hall somewhere and go, oh, you're a PJ? Dude, I tried to be a PJ. Let me tell you this story. How many times has that happened to you in your life?
Yeah, good amount.
How hard is it to maintain that ego? How hard is it for you to go, oh man, that's a really tough story and whatever else? I got to be honest. And I will be honest because that's who I am on the podcast. Hi, I'm Aaron. Sometimes you walk away from that and you go, I made it. He didn't. Guess I'm stronger. Guess I'm faster. Guess I'm better. I don't know what to tell you. And I'm sorry, but and again, we could talk about how it is that we select for people or how it is that we want those personality types. We've talked about it before. When you're at an assessment selection event and people are quitting around you, how does that make you feel?
I think now it definitely is. No, like legitimately when I don't mean now, I mean for the last 20 years.
Sure.
It has felt good because I'm like, when I was a 17-year-old going through 18-year-old, it did not feel
terrible. Right.
Because then I was like, oh my God, I got no chance.
Oh, no.
So like once I graduated or I got to a point mentally where I was like, dude, I'll take on the world. I don't care.
Right.
You're not getting me to quit.
Right.
Then that's when it started going like, okay, you quitting gives me power. Like
it gives me, and that's exactly it. Like I'm stealing a little bit, Goggins was like, I just want to steal a little bit of everybody's soul. You know what I mean? For however much you like Goggins, but that speaks to ego and that speaks to one of the things that I've really connected to, and again, I think stoicism as in generalities is just a silly thing. I think like the people that make their, when you turn 40, you either have to be a stoic or a samurai or you like Civil War stuff, I guess. I don't know what you're supposed to do once you pass 40, but the stoicism trend is hilarious, right? Like I don't want to relitigate things that I've said before that make people mad, but I don't really want to take my advice from a bunch of dudes that missed the war and then we're getting, freaky with 14-year-olds in bathhouses. I just don't value their input that much. And it's 2,000 years old, like whatever. But, there are some Stoics that had some good quotes. Marcus Aurelius was famous for having a specific dude that when he was walking in the parade, he was one of Rome's conquering generals, and somebody would walk behind him and he would say, "Memento mori, remember that you're only a man. You're going to die." The more that I engage in the political space, the more that you say you never meet your heroes. And this happened to me when I was in, this happened to me when I walked out of a room with a commander one time and I looked at the person I was in a meeting with and I was like, oh my God, we were the adults in that room. Like he is supposed to be the adult. He's supposed to be the commander. He's supposed to be the one that's smarter than me, that's better than me, that knows more things. He's been to more schools. He understands things in a way that I don't. He's supposed to lead me. The more that you have those interactions, the more that I'm in these rooms and have these conversations, and you look at people and you're like, oh, wow, you're faking it too. Like that's the fun part of imposter syndrome, is when you see somebody and you're like, oh, you're unsure of yourself. Oh, you don't know what you're doing. Oh no. And it is that feeling of like special warfare assessment selection. When you see somebody floundering like that, you're like, oh, it could never be me, dog. It could never be me, dog. How do you manage that ego? How did you keep a lid on that? Because I think a certain amount of that confidence bordering on cockiness is what we need. I think that's a good thing. What do you think?
I don't think it's a bad thing, and I think it's required. And I think you actually want people to believe that they can take on the world in our line of profession, right? And I don't mean just Air Force. I'm talking about like NAVSPEC, war,
military, fire.
Like,
dude,
yeah.
I need a fireman that is going to be like,
I can go in there and take care of this fire.
Right.
I need a police officer, like no matter what the situation is, I can handle it. Barricaded shooter in there. And like I need a team of SWAT boys that'll just like
savages.
I got it.
Savages. Because what happens when you don't have that? Uvalde happens. Mm-hmm. These people standing outside a door talking about who knows. You know what I mean? Like that's what happens when you don't have that level of leadership or that level of cockiness.
Oh my God. Now we're gonna go into real like the Uvalde thing is if you're, and every time it gets brought up or I think about it, it is, I mean, I could just feel the rage.
Oh yeah.
Boiling inside my body, because there were moms, there were dads that were ready to go in. They were like, I will go in unarmed.
Right.
And
I'll go in right now.
They were being detained.
Oh yeah. It's crazy. And again, it's projection, but that's who we train and select for. That's why people don't understand. We come off as mean, especially Trent or myself. I've really evolved. When we first started this thing, I really did my level best to be like, yeah, you can probably make it. No, you probably won't. You'll probably actually quit. Like when I say probably, when I say that there's a probability you're going to quit, statistically, you're going to quit. And I don't even want to have these conversations. You can tell right away. You can tell right away when you're talking to somebody and they're talking about, oh, well, what schools can I go to? What bonus can I get? What, all these other things, as opposed to, hey, here's my numbers. I kind of hit a plateau. I want to see if I can get to the next level. Like I look at those messages and I'm like, okay, this is worth my time. Somebody else asked me, oh, well, what for the squat, bench, and deadlift, what 3 numbers should I strive for? Come on.
For what should it be?
So you can be
your body weight or what?
So, yeah. Tell you what, I'll answer this question. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and mark this one down. Hey, AFSPAC war candidates, we got this question on an earlier live episode, and I answered it poorly, so I'd like a rehack at it. So somebody asked, what should your squat, bench, and deadlift be before you get into the Air Force Special Warfare pipeline? You should be able to squat 2.25% of your body weight. You should be able to deadlift 2.5 of your body weight, so multipliers, not percent. So 2.25 of your body weight, take your body weight, multiply by 2.25. That's your floor, and you should be able to do that for a 3 rep. And then 2.5 bench. Deadlift. And then you should be able to clean and jerk 1.5 of your body weight. Until you can do that, don't even bother start training for the IFT. Just go ahead and get to those elite levels first, and then come on in. Thanks for asking the question. It's ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous thing on the face of the planet. Like, and you know, the fact that and the internet is a funny thing, right? Because immediately I was like, yeah, I don't care. You're going to be the strongest quitter on white team or whatever team they call the SOT team that's waiting to go to the next, like, to your new Air Force job. Like, congratulations. I don't care about your clean and jerk at this point. And people love to take stuff out of context, and they love to listen to like a single reel without listening to the context of the clip. We do it on purpose. Like, welcome to the internet, everybody. We want you to go look at the larger episode. But when people ask those sort of questions, I'm like, okay, like I don't have the time at this point. Like we've actually gotten too popular for us to sit down with everybody and try to explain to them why they're misguided. At this point, I'm just like, all right, hey, thanks for the comment. Moving on. Let's talk about that ego. What's that right line for you? So we tell people, and again, yeah, I love hearing from my friends that are, you know, in the pipeline or at schoolhouses or, you know, some that are on the teams. Every once in a while I get one of those messages where like, oh God, these dudes, they show up to the team, they're so entitled, they think they're great, and like they're not. I'm like, bro, what do you remember what you were like after 2 years? There is a video where they tell you that you're going to Superman school for parents. It's the apprentice course, dude. Like you're a 0 level. Like you're a 1 level.
They're playing 3 doors down.
They're playing. If I'm no crazy man, well, you still call me Superman.
We're like get demonetized. That voice is just. I tell you, you're nailing it.
Oh, I got absolute, dude. No joke. I'm seeing Creed on December 30th. I already have my tickets. If you think I won't be an absolute menace at that show, I will warm these golden vocal cords up, and Scott Stapp will ask me up on stage to sing.
You're there.
One less.
Come on up here.
I can't. He's going to pull his ear.
Wait a minute.
Wait a second.
Is that real?
That sounds like a cross between Fergie and Jesus. And I'm going to be like, yeah, people have said I've had great pipes ever since I was in musicals. And that's a real thing that I did. If I'm so excited to go see Creed, I can't even, that's not a joke. Like here's how much that I planned for Creed is that in order to sell this to my wife, I am getting a babysitter. I am taking her out to a very nice dinner beforehand. And then I'm saying it's like, I didn't spend that much money on the tickets. It's not like I'm sitting like front row. It's at Caesars, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting in like one of the nicer sections, but 1 row up, right? Like, so I'm not sitting like bowl, like these were like $500. And then the one that's a little bit further up where you can see down on the stage, they were much more, much more reasonable, especially when, you include fees and resort fees and all sorts of stuff.
Why is your wife not just on board with that anyway?
She was. I don't want to take too much away from her. She loves Creed too. You know why? Because I blast that stuff in my garage. I'm like, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like blasting Creed and throwing wrenches around. Don't come out here. I don't want to get you pregnant. You know what I mean? That's also a joke. I totally want to get her pregnant again. So that seems like a weird thing to say out in public, but that is a weird thing to say. Like, oh, we're trying to have a kid. So you're like, oh, wait a second. But that's gross. Anyway, we were talking about ego, and we were talking about managing that ego, because we do want people to strike that balance, right? We don't want people to be egotistical. We don't want people to be egomaniacal, but there is some level of like psychopathy and sociopathy. There is an unrealistic belief that you have to have in yourself that you are going to make this, because it translates into the job. I had a very interesting conversation. Somebody in the DMs was asking me about 10-ups. And they were like, yeah, I'm practicing 10-ups for whatever reason. I can't get all the way across the pool, right? 10-ups are the exercise for people out there that don't know. It's an alternate water con exercise. You are on the side of the pool. Okay.
The width of the pool.
The width, right. Yeah. So there's the length, which is, it's a 50-meter pool at the Malta Aquatic Center. And the width of the pool is 6 lanes. I think that's 8 lanes wide, right? So it's not as wide as it is long. You're in the push-up position on the side of the pool, completely out of the pool with your team. The instructor says down. The instructor says up. You count off with 1. And then you jump in. You go to the bottom of the pool. You go across the pool. You hit the crack on the other side of the pool. You ascend properly. You get out. You get into the push-up position. The next count will be 2. You down, up, 1, down, up, 2, go, right? There's a high side and a low side. That's what 10-ups are. It's an alternate water con event, meaning it's not like a graded event. You're not going to do it every single WaterCon session. They're going to do it when you've done a bad thing, and they need to give you some extra attention for this. So the young man was asking me, like, I can't seem to do it. I can't seem to, get enough air. And I was like, yes, you can. How about this? Quit popping. How about you just stop it? You're telling me you can do 25-meter underwaters on an interval and you somehow can't do 10 ups because you did a push-up beforehand or 10 push-ups beforehand? And yeah, the instructors are going to keep you down, and yeah, people are going to be splashing you in the face and whatever. I don't care, because when you're in a courtyard and people are throwing World War II grenades at you to the point where you had to cover your friend's body one time and then he covered your body one time, and you're getting into engagements with your SCAR from 7 meters away in buildings where you're shooting people as you're trying to make your way across a courtyard in order to get to a casualty, you cannot have doubt in your mind that not only are you going to do it like it looks like you did it in a movie, but you're going to be fine. You're going to treat that person. You're going to save their life. Because that's what Ivan Ruiz did, and that's what he won the Air Force Cross for. Like, that was literally what he did in a small courtyard. People were throwing those Bangalore, like the big World War II grenades at him from like 4 feet away, like over a wall. And he threw his friend to the ground and he covered him with his body. And then that thing blew up and they weren't hurt. And then they got up and kept going towards the guy that just tried to kill them. So that's what we're asking you to do. And you're telling me you can't stay underwater for a little bit? Come on, man. Like, I don't know how to fix that. Like, how about this? How about you reach into your pants and you tell me if you feel anything on the front side? Because did your balls drop off? Or females, did your internal ovaries? I don't know what the female equivalent would be. I don't know if I can make it gender neutral. Shout out to the new SecDef. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know what to tell people like that. Like, we need all that tangent aside. We need people that are psychopathic and that are unwavering in their belief. And it may be complete. Like, it is ridiculous to say that you're going to be a PJ, to be a combat controller, to be TAC-P, to be SR. It's ridiculous to believe that. Just look at the attrition rate. Look at how many people it's killed. Look at the toll it takes. It's crazy to say that. But unless you believe it, unless you believe it to your core, you're not going to make it. Yeah. So how do you manage those two things? How do you reconcile those two things?
I think you have to manage it later on. I think during it, you have to believe that, and afterwards, but at the same time, like, in terms of the humility and the ego check and stuff like that, I think it has to happen after you're out of the pipeline, and it may take 6 months, may take 2 years, because you'll be like, dude, I'm the baddest MFer walking these streets right now,
Right. And you might be
straight up CT Fletcher, cracking the concrete as you're walking. But all it takes is somebody to come and humble you because you happen to go to the range with a better shooter, or you happen to deploy with or work for somebody like you already mentioned Bill Adams.
Yeah.
Bill Adams happens to be one of your section chiefs, or then your op soup, or you got I'll just say Nick,
Yeah.
just a fucking a badass.
Old BD Nick. Did you, not to interrupt, have you heard the stats on this guy recently?
I'm sure
he's about to get out.
I'm sure it's dreamy.
Dude, he's about to get out. He's about to retire. I won't say where or when. I believe it's very, very close. I'd have to look and see. Like, no kidding what it is. Bro stopped doing cardio. He's walking around at like 250. Our friend Shane, our mutual friend Shane, texted me and he was like, bro,
he lost his neck.
I'm hanging out with Nick. He's like, he's got a full beard. They're going to a state that is, it is chock full of cowboys. They were like, he's a monster. He's like, he's terrifying. And I was just like, oh my God. Yeah.
So,
and
you go on a training mission or an actual operation with somebody like that, with, you mentioned Ivan, somebody like that. So one, you kind of get a check and go like, oh, wow, okay, I really got to step up my game, which is good. Like, all this is good. This humility and this ego check is a good thing in terms of, if you're operating with somebody and they're operating, like, I equate it to whenever we didn't have the best soccer team like I was never on the best soccer team.
Mhm.
But whenever we played somebody who we knew was way better than us, it elevated us. We played better.
Yep.
Same kind of thing. You go and you operate next to a Nick, a Bill Adams, an
Yep.
Ivan, and there's many more, right? And you're like, all right, dude, I gotta, whether it's training or operation, I gotta step up my game. I gotta.
Yeah.
So they elevate you. At the same time, there are times where you could do all the prep, you could be in the best shape, you could be the most highly trained, and you just have a bad day.
Oh yeah.
You have a bad day on the range. You just have a bad mission. And
I've had days where I can't stick an IV to save my life. Easy, and you're getting evaluated. It's one of the easiest sticks, and you just blow it.
Yeah.
Or you completely blow a rope scenario. I mean, I've been on rope scenarios. I was terrible at ropes my early career. I got to barely just passable by the end. Man, I remember tying a system that we got like halfway through, and the instructor was like, "Okay, do this here's a simple inject, whatever," and it screwed my entire thing up. Like literally, I was just like, "Oh God, I didn't do this one specific thing that would have avoided this, and now I got to think my way." We literally had to start all over again.
Yeah.
Like it was a hard fail.
And it all it takes is one of those to really help get that mental snap back and going like, oh, okay. And you will see it, like to say that there are not, fat out of shape PJ controllers.
Totally are. Well, not PJs, but yeah, controllers. Yeah,
for sure.
No, they are. Yeah.
And it's because they'll end up getting comfortable, right? They get
yeah.
comfortable, complacent, and then they go, well, dude, when I went on that last deployment, I was in shape and I did just fine.
Mhm.
I'll be good. I'll be able to rely on my skills. And then something happens,
that's where
or
that ego gets you.
Mhm.
That is where I think that's
security.
it's a good example of that line. Makes you complacent. Oh, dude, I'm fine. I'm good. I'm a PJ. Like I don't need to work out today. Then it turns out I don't need to work out all 3 days. I can just ride the bike on Friday, whatever. String a couple of those. Oh, it was just a tough month. It's the holidays. I'll get back into it. And then suddenly, man, you ain't so good. You aren't the who you think you are in your head, and the thing that you're actually presenting become two different things. That ain't good.
Suddenly those buttons are getting stress tested on that uniform.
A little bit. How excited are you to not have to worry about those buttons very soon? You excited?
Well, I will always worry about the buttons.
Right. Well, I'll be there. Yeah, I'm always going to call you fat, you little combat dwarf.
It's just
That's not the point.
Yeah.
That's not the point. There's it's just it's a thing that you have to manage, and hopefully you have people there that help you manage it. But we need people with that unreasonable belief that they are going to make it. And I can tell you out there, everybody that's listening to this right now, I can tell you 100%. We know when you're serious and when you're not. We know. I can't remember what recruiter said this, but it was a recruiter we had on. It was a long time ago too. They were like, I used to try to get everybody to yes. I used to tell everybody yes, you could do this, and I would walk down the whole path and be like, oh yeah, man, you can do it. He was like, now I just look to tell people no all the time. The fastest that I can tell somebody, nope, you don't qualify. Nope, get out of here. Our color vision requirements waiverable. Nope, get out. Bye. You don't have color vision. You don't want to go get a second opinion. You don't want to chase this waiver down. Bye. Okay, bye. Well, they told me no, that I couldn't get in because I was diagnosed with anxiety and I was on meds and all this other stuff. And the doctor says I'm fine, but he doesn't want to write a letter about it. Okay, bye. Go to the Marines. I don't know what to tell you, but you're probably not going to get in. And if you do get in, you're going to quit. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, we know when you're serious. We know when you mean business. We know when you've put the work in. Like, Mason Gregory, God, watching him do wheelchair workouts infuriates me. And it infuriates me because we have guys like that we should get in, guys like that we need on the teams. And I'm dealing with 10 other DMs of people going, well, I don't know, like Air Force Special Reconnaissance really doesn't do that much because like they don't leave the base. Like you should just go be a SEAL. Like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about.
I saw that comment the other
day.
day.
You don't know what you're talking. You're a child. You're not even in shape. You can't pass an IFT. You've never put a beret on your head. And it's just as bad. Like these people that are the the folks that are out and they just want to bemoan other folks, be like, oh, this generation this generation that. Shut up. You know why no one knows your name? You know why you had to like walk me? You know why when I asked you who you were and I was in for 22 years, the most recent 22 years, you know why we had to go through like 4 different layers to get to where you graduated, who you are? Because you graduated the pipeline, you went to the guard and you did nothing your entire career. And you just like saying you're a PJ because that gets you street cred. Well, all PJs aren't great. Hi, I'm Aaron. There are douchebags that were PJs. Sometimes false negatives make it through. And I got a beret. So case in point. But like,
how about that?
Yeah, how about that? A-hole. Oh, but no, all PJs are really good dudes. No, they're not. I can tell you. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Hove, H to the O-V. I, in fact, did not move Snowflake by the O-Z. That's a reference to selling cocaine, which I did not do for legal reasons.
I would not do that.
I didn't say I would not do that. I said I did not do that. Okay. All you got to do is push them to the limbs. That's a J. Cole bite, right? You know,
Yeah.
Anyway, but all that to say, like, I think it's important to manage that ego, but I think it's the saying, be humble, but you can let an MF know. Like it is okay. Like some of those ultimate Frisbee, ultimate football games, some of the most magnifique trash talking that I've ever seen in my entire life. Let that ego come out a little bit. It's okay. You throw a 50-yard bomb to some AFE kid that just happens to have, he was the best small receiver on his team, and you finally get a PJ that can throw a football, and you just start hucking TD passes from 55 yards away. Forget, you are going to hear my voice. You are going to know what the score is, homie. We aren't going to need a scoreboard. Like, I'm going to tell you that I just won.
But you want that.
You do.
You want somebody who's going to be able to talk trash. You want somebody who's going to, believe that they're the baddest MF on that field or on that operation or whatever, because you've got to believe it.
Yep.
You've got to believe that if there's a situation that is less than ideal, that you can fix it or you can get out of it. Yeah. Imagine being, we'll go like Marcus Luttrell's situation, right? Sure. Just because so many people know about that one.
Yeah.
Operation Red Wings. Imagine believing like I can't make it out of this. You got Murph that essentially sacrificing whether you believe Operation Red Wing should have happened or not. That's not the point. The point is that you still had 3 Bubbas out there that lost their lives, that believed even in those moments that they could make it out of there.
Yeah, they did.
And how many more miles did they make it? How many more bodies did they stack? How many more X, Y, and Z did they do because they believe that versus, well, that's it. There ain't no chance for us. Like, may as well call it now. You got a grenade that we can all jump on?
Right. Yeah. Well, this is it. I'm just going to hole up here and make my last stand. No, you go fight. I used to say that to patients all the time. Patients have this really weird thing where once they get in the helicopter, once they get, a little bit of distance, right? You'd have people with horrific injuries, but they'd be alive. They'd be awake. They'd be talking to you. And the first thing I would do is I'd look at them and be like, hey man, you need to get in the fight. Okay. Yeah. Like we're not done. You need to fight. You need to fight to stay awake. You need to fight to remember my name. You need to fight to get to the hospital or wherever it is that we're going. Because there's a very, very well-known thing with medics. Like you put them on the helicopter, they kind of relax a little bit and that's it. That adrenaline wears off. They think that they're a little bit safe. And that's when they bottom out. And that's when you're like, Jesus, come on, man. But, we need people that hear those words. I liken it, when you're getting ready to go out on a mission, like we're not giving each other pump up speeches. It's not like, the longest yard. It's not like the halftime speech and when was Al Pacino, Any Given Sunday? So it's not the speech from Any Given. We claw for that inch. We tear for that inch. Like it's not it, homie. But I'll tell you what, you better have that inside of you somewhere. when you throw that kit on, you throw the gloves on, and you're checking your primary weapon system, and you're getting ready to go to work, there better be something in you that really does say, I am going to go out and I'm coming home. My team is coming home. We are all coming home. You better have that in you. And we develop it in the pipeline. We put all of these challenges in front of you, and you better believe that you are going to pass. You'd better believe that you're going to pass the next test, the next school, the next evaluation, whatever that next thing is. You have to have an unwavering psychopathic belief that you are a true belief that you are going to pass, that you are going to win, that you are going to live, whatever. Because if you don't, you're not you're not going to make it, or you're going to freeze when I need you the most, which is even worse.
Well, the freezing, that's like, and it's because, well, there's a difference. There's hesitation in making a decision, and then there's complete freezing. I don't know at the moment. I mean, I guess if you find somebody who's frozen, right? And I haven't actually experienced that.
I haven't one time
where somebody froze, but I got to imagine. I mean, that's where a good slap across the face has got to work. I got to imagine. Like I said, I haven't had to deal with it, but or some shaking somebody, fucking snap out of it, dude.
Right.
Like I need you freaking. And at that point, you're probably, I got to imagine you're going more dictatorial and going like, dude, weapon that way.
Yeah.
Shoot anybody that comes around that corner.
Yep.
There you go, dude. And then I'm like, now I got to make sure that I'm connected with that person so that they don't get left behind or whatever,
Well, even when it's not that, not that crazy thing. I got during my team leader upgrade, one of my friends, Matt, I was having a problem communicating. Like he was like, dude, you know what doesn't work? More radio traffic. He was like, you giving another radio call. He was like, everybody has 2 radios on, bro. Everybody's listening to 6 different channels. This guy's listening to, you've got this guy on fires and this guy on team. And then there's a team external channel that you guys are pushing out so that you guys can talk to the people back at the vehicles. Right there, that's your youngest team member. He's got 3 radio channels that are barking in his ear. He's like, how many do you have? I'm like, homie, my shit's on scan. I'm listening to like 7 different radio channels in 2 years right now. And he was like, yeah, perfect. So could you get your ass up? Could you maybe walk 15 feet? Oh, you're not getting shot at. Go grab him by the kit and say, hey man, are you okay? Do you have enough water? Are you good? Like, go talk to him. Go break him. It is so easy. The Norwegians used to call it going into your hood, and they would call it people that were afraid of the cold. Because, I mean, just like anywhere else, like when it's really, really cold, it's called going into your hood. You just retreat in your jacket. You're like, it's warm in here. I'm going to put this. I don't want to do anything. I just want to be warm and be out of the elements. Man, it is so easy to get lost in your peltors. It is so easy to just be listening to radio traffic, and the world may be doing a million, the JTAC thing where you're just walking around, literally staring at your ATAC, and that's your whole your whole life, right? Man,
wait a minute, I'm talking aircraft. I need to stand up and walk around.
I need to stand up and walk around. Listen, if I don't stand up and pace, they're not going to be able to hear me.
Yeah.
Right. But that stuff happens, man. You can have your attention drawn in such a way that sometimes you need to go literally grab somebody by the kit and say, hey man, are you good? Are you okay? Can you hear me? Do you understand what's going on right now? Do you have your security sector? Who's your buddy? Where's your shooting partner? Like, what are we doing here? What happens if we take contact? Like, those things are important. You don't hear it. I've never experienced it personally in our careers because our guys, again, inoculated to so much stress. Like the 2-year pipeline, people talk about, that sure is a long time. Yeah, well, I don't have a single story about anybody freezing in a door. I don't have any stories about people being just completely combat ineffective because of the terrible things that they saw. There's only one time in my entire career that I had to take somebody off of alert because of a terrible thing that happened the day prior, and he didn't want to come off alert. I made that call for him because I thought it was that important. Like, these people will not stop. Like, those are it's funny, we just ripped off some names of some very famous people, but you look at like Dave Keaton, you look at multiple Silver Star one. I just got a text message from a guy that, somebody was like, oh, you guys should get Dave Keaton on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, tight. You got his number? I don't have Yo-Yo's number. I guess I could find him. I think he's still working at San Antonio or something. I don't know. But like, it's crazy. Like, a guy that has 2 Silver Stars literally just texted me talking about the fights because we're friends. That's who you're surrounding yourself with. like they're going to manage your ego pretty effectively once you get to team. Is you're going to look around and you're going to be like, ugh. Like when we went to the one of the best things ever when we went to the schoolhouse is there's a specific spot on the wall, the pararescue schoolhouse. There's entire hallways, long like 100-yard hallways of the line, like sometimes 2 and 3 deep, of the decorations that pararescue men have won since the beginning of pararescue back in 1966. There's a whole hallway of people, like Ivan's picture is up there. There's a whole hallway of people that have won, Air Force Crosses and Silver Stars and all this other stuff. And to his credit, old Rubes, what's up, Rubes? Rubes is like, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to have a little specific section in this wall so that the students can see the instructors awards to remind them, because it's really easy. And there's a whole high generation of students that don't like me. There's a whole generation of students that kind of forget, that are like, oh, well, they're just instructors and, they're PJs, but whatever. They forget that these guys have like multiple combat awards and like 7 deployments and stuff. Because again, you forget, you get into the schoolhouse and you're like, this guy's an instructor. Or like, it was always hilarious. Diori Dominguez, which is an awesome dude, but he was a prior Army Tier 1 guy with like 18 deployments. But he was just like, he was a civilian dude and he was teaching tactics, and he was kind of like a funny, he had a very distinctive voice that the students would emulate and they would do in skits and stuff. And then every once in a while, I'd just be like, hey, that guy struck fear into the hearts of some of the hardest terrorists on the face of the planet for like an 8-year period in Iraq. That guy has killed more people than cancer. Like, you can make fun of him all you want. You can be like, oh yeah, I'm Diori, like make your little like fun, joke about him. But let's not get it twisted, homie. That guy's a savage. That guy is an absolute savage. But that's who you're going to surround yourself with. That's who you're going to work with. You're going to attach to these teams, these people like, Nick and Ivan and, Roger Sparks and all of these people that do these things that you're just like, Jesus, how? Because that's what we do. And that's what you have to strive to do.
Did you said something? Are there is there a tranche of students that just hate you?
Oh, they all work at the schoolhouse now. It's hilarious. It's like they forget.
So
Students that I have. Oh, not now. I don't.
Okay.
I assume not now. I haven't talked.
I'm saying like actual like cones or whatever that
maybe. Probably, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of people that see me on the internet and think they know me and think they have some idea who they am and then form an opinion off me, because those people are smooth brain retarded people. Probably mark that to take the R word out.
No,
I think
there's certain words that we use in our house.
Are we back on retarded? Good. I'm good. I don't say that.
We can be.
I think we.
Now we're gonna get demonetized, but
now it's late enough. We're like 40 minutes in. They don't even care. They're like, nobody's watching anyway. You're totally good. Oh yeah, but there's a whole contingent of people. Like, I was not a popular instructor, and I get it. Oh boy, do I get it. No problem.
Not to go off on a tangent about this, but it is funny because obviously people have hit me up and they're like, hey man, love what you're doing. Like, dude, Aaron, like, really? and I'm like, yeah, like what's the problem? And they're like, man, I've just never liked them. I was like, okay, so
when have you worked with me?
I was like, what is it? And they're like, and I just pry, and then they're like, well, I'm like, you got nothing. Oh, you just don't like his delivery of message. I was like, is the message right? Like, is he correct? Or, and 99% of the time it's like, well, it's just his delivery. I'm like, okay, so you're offended or you're taken back by his delivery of said message, but what he's actually saying is correct. Okay, so you're being a sensitive baby back. Got it. All right, cool.
Well, I mean, I would like to take this time to apologize to absolutely fucking nobody. I do not give a shit. Like, imagine that. You know what's funny? Don't have a single text on this phone with those conversations.
Oh, of course.
Nobody's ever. I've gotten exactly one phone call the entire time that we've been on. There's been one dude that got my number to call me to talk about something, and it took about 2 seconds. And he was like, "Hey man, this is fucked. Like, this is me, and I can't believe you said this about this guy, and I can't believe you did this." I was like, "Yeah, I didn't say that. was like, what? That wasn't on ONESREADY. I was like, you're talking about something I said on my personal page about some dude that you like that I don't like. And he was like, well, wait, what? I was like, yeah, those are different things, man. I was like, this is a whole other thing. I was like, we didn't say that on ONESREADY. We would never say that. We would never put that out. We actually don't do that stuff on that page. I was like, you're talking about my personal private page that somebody told you said. I was like, can you tell me exactly what happened? And he was like, well, no, because I just kind of heard about it. I was like, oh, so you don't even know if it happened.
Yeah.
You just heard it from a dude. And then you don't understand the story. So you're now calling to yell at me. Like, it's fine. If you want to be mad, you can be mad at me. I was like, but I don't know what to tell.
I think it would blow people's mind the amount of times that happens is, you know, text, phone calls or whatever that go, hey, you know, you guys said this probably, you know, it might be a little bit OPSEC-y or it might be a little class. So I was like, what
Where?
did we say?
Give me the timestamp.
And before that is like, hey, might need you guys to take that down. I'm like, okay, what if that was the best? I had a phone call from a command chief.
Did you?
Yeah. I got a phone call from a command chief saying, all right,
you're fucking adorable, command chief. You know, I'm gonna mark this one too. How about no? How about not only no? How about go fuck yourself? How about that?
So that's what it was. Is he called me? He's like, hey, I think you guys might have said some classified stuff on your podcast.
No, we didn't.
And I was like, okay, what? You know, which one? He goes, oh, it was about the special reconnaissance, about some of the things they did. I was like, okay, I know the episode you're talking about. Like it's, you know, because we had just released it.
Right.
This is a little while ago, and I was like, what did we say? Because like I navigate classification stuff all the time. I'm not saying I'm the best at it, but like I've been around, right? I've done this once or twice,
right?
I was like, what did we say? You know, and he's like, well, I don't know. It was. I was like, what did we say? I was like, you, and then when he couldn't, I was like, you didn't watch it or listen to it, did you?
No,
he's like, and he goes, no. I was like, somebody told you that we did, didn't they? And he's like, well, yeah. I'm like, okay, so we're not taking it down.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Let's get to the end of this. First of all, no, I'm not taking it down.
It's like we didn't say anything classified. And you know what? And if we did, like if I said something that busted OPSEC or put some of our dudes in danger or any Americans in danger, then I would take it down. Like
100%.
if I said something that I shouldn't have and I was like, oh crap. Like, yeah, I would take it down. But because somebody came to you and like, well, I don't like what they're saying, so I'm going to say that they said something classified, and then you don't even take the time to go research it. It's like, all right, man. Like,
nah, homie, I ain't playing that. That's where you and I differ. Is I've said things that are right, especially on, you know, trying to read political tea leaves or, you know, engaging on the social, you know, culture war issue of the moment. Like you're going to say inaccuracies and things are going to be wrong years later. I always leave that stuff up. I won't even take it down. It's on my page. Like there was, you know, 2.5 years ago, I said that at the end of this political cycle, you know, they were going to try to install Michelle Obama as the presidential candidate. It was funny because somebody took time out of their day to come back and be like, oh, turns out this was wrong. And I was like, yeah, 2 years ago, I gave a prediction of something that turned out not to be true. Great input there. But I'm not taking that video down. I'm going to leave it. I am fine. I said it at the time and in the context, and I believed it at the time and in the context. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. OPSEC is obviously a different thing. Like I'll never put anybody in danger. But, you know, to the point of like, there's a difference between something that's wrong and something you don't like. And we've lost that a little bit. Yep. You know,
and I think it's because we shy away from talking about things.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There are things that you and I disagree on. Like
a lot of things, by the way,
straight up disagree on.
Oh yeah,
and we just talk about it, and you know, you're not going to convince me, and I'm not going to convince you, and you just go, okay, but we can still talk about it, and I'm not going behind like one fucking Aaron, you know what I mean? Like I'm not doing that.
Right.
And
well, it's because you're not a baby back bitch.
Yeah, I'm not
a triple B.
Bitch, but at the same time, I think Trent and I talked about this. Is I have a theory that the reason why things are so polarizing now, and I don't just mean in America, I mean just in the world, in terms, you know, especially westernized countries, of polarization between political stuff, religious. It was like
cultural issues, right?
The three things that we have always been told never to talk about, you know, at the dinner table or on dates or whatever, is sex, religion, and politics, right?
You're right.
And I think the reason, I mean, that has been like ingrained in us. You do not talk about those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that now we are seeing the result of that,
Right.
because if you do talk about it, it's like, oh my God, and everybody's pearl clutching. Whereas I think if we actually just talk about it in a very calm and like, you know, okay, well, I'm sorry you don't agree with what I'm saying, but at least we can move forward, and we're used to talking about things that we can disagree with.
Right. Yeah.
I think we got to do more of it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you can take it back. The Coddling of the American Mind is a great book that I have here, but they talk about how that all started, like safetyism and words are violence and all that stuff started on the college campuses. And it's caused this big divide of like, oh, well, you can't talk about that because words are violence. And now you're attacking me and I have to shut this conversation down. And then you get in your own echo chamber and you think you know everything that you're talking about. I'll use, tariffs as an example for this political thing. I don't know how many people, because it's easier to talk about than the number one and number two issue that everybody focused on this last one. So I'll talk about this one because it's the easiest for people to digest on this sweet episode. People are like, oh, tariffs are going to crash everything. They're going to have inflation higher. They're going to make, if you put a 20% tariff on there, what do you think that company's going to do? They're just going to put that 20% on that product. And then your prices are 20% higher and it's going to crash the economy. There used to be a time where we could talk about these things. Okay. So let's play this out. So Trump puts a 20% tariff on this cup. It's not made in America. He said, if you're going to bring this in, this cup is now 20% more expensive. And then the manufacturer goes, okay, tight. Well, we're just going to charge the American people more. Okay. 20% is this cup. It cost, $10. Well, now it costs $12.50. And everybody's like, oh, I can't believe it. These idiots out there would make you believe that this is the only cup that exists and you have to buy this cup. No, you know what you're going to do? You're going to find a different thing that doesn't cost 20% as much. And you're going to buy that because that's what free market capitalism is, right? And then the makers of this cup go, wait a second. I want to avoid a 20% tariff on this cup. No, don't put a tariff on us. We're going to make it in America. We'll bring the cup making factory to America. And that way we'll avoid the 20% tariff. That's how tariffs work. People have and like literally you have these conversations where it's like every TikTok video is Trump is going to take away rights or the government is going to, tariffs are going to crash the economy. It's going to cause higher inflation. The reason why people believe those stupid ideas is because there isn't somebody that can sit here and go, hey, that idea is dumb. That idea is not, you do not know everything about this thing. Because if you're allowed to play the victim and shut those ideas down right away, then you never have to have your bad idea out there. That's the whole reason I started the Aaron Loves America page. It's not to convince people. It's the 80% rule. 10% of people love me and they're always going to love me. 10% of people hate me and they're always going to hate me. For me individually, it's probably way higher, but let's just call it that. I'm having those conversations for the 80% that are in the middle. I'm having those conversations. So when somebody has a dumb thing like, oh, you don't understand basic economics. Here's how tariffs are going to crash the economy. I get to go, well, you're an idiot. There's a thing called dime fill, right? So there's diplomacy, there's informational, there's military, there's economic. That's where this fits. When you have a government that's willing to impose economic penalties on another person for making goods and services that exist outside America and you want to bring them back in, you put 1,000% tariff on that thing like Trump did to the huge car factory that was being built in Mexico that has now stopped being built because he said he's going to put 1,000% tariff on those cars. And then people were like, oh, 1,000%, that's going to make that car 1,000% more expensive. You're right. Then you don't buy that car.
Yeah.
You buy a Ford that's made in Austin, Texas. You buy a Tesla that they're making in California. You buy whatever other car that they are making inside of the United States of America because they're not subject to the tariffs. So number one, it puts the foreign car company at a disadvantage. And by the way, you can't sell anything in China without a tariff on it. And if your company exists in China, you can't pull the money out of it. They won't let you because every single business there is run by the CCP.
You also can't own land.
You can't own land. You can't do
these other countries.
Any of these.
We open it up to everybody.
Right. And that's a whole thing.
And to your tariff point, I was trying to find the exact date that we shifted away from, but
1929, prior to the Fed,
29
Woodrow Wilson and the Golden Age.
Yeah, because we used to be
There was no income tax.
Yeah, you entirely funded by tariffs, and
Yeah.
we were booming.
It was called the Gilded Age, and that's literally what. And I'll tell you what, you may not like the dude, but he is at least a study of history, right? Like Trump knows more about tariffs and about what president was. I think it was Grover Cleveland was the last one that had tariffs and no income taxes, but they literally called it the Gilded Age, because that's how you leverage economic power as a nation state in order to bring those people. You want to have these chips, the Chips Act, to get the Taiwanese chips, which is why Taiwan is always such a problem. It's not because China wants to bring Taiwan back into the fold and subjugate its people, which it does, but it's because they make specific military grade chips there they can't make anywhere else, and they won't sell them to China. That's why. So if we start making those chips here in America, problem solved. Bring them all over here. But if not, like
game, let's do that.
No, that's what we're doing. That's what the Chips Act is. But that highlights these things. Like we just had a rational discussion about no, tariffs were totally used before, and they can be used to actually have an economic boom, and they can bring other places back to. But nobody wants to have that, because now the reflex is you're attacking me, you're being mean, you're a racist, you're exactly Nazi, fascist, racist, homophobe, whatever else, and you see it everywhere. And luckily that tide is starting to turn, where it's like, no, you're not just going to be able to report me on Instagram and get me to shut up. No, you're not going to be able to shout me off campuses like they were doing in, 2014, 2015, 2016, like Charlie Kirk. The fact that he was able to have his entire campus tour where you'd have these conversations in public and then put it out on social media, when the movements, first started to happen, it was just like, oh, well, we just own libs on TikTok. That is that's called Discourse. It looks different now than it did before, but if you got in the public square before and you said something stupid and somebody walked up to you and they got on their little box next to you and was like, this guy's an idiot, here's why, and then you have a debate and then you win the debate in front of people, that person was shamed. That person had to go away. If you look at the debates that like Destiny is having, 5-6 years ago, Destiny was like this great debater and whatever else. It's because he was able to. Oh, well, no, he wasn't. He's terrible. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how culture has turned, right? Is it now that people are willing to have these conversations in the open and willing to like video them, put them out there. When somebody stands up and goes, oh, they're gonna take away the Marriage Equality Act, and I'm not gonna be able to love who I love. That's patently false. That's patently false for about 95 different reasons. And oh, by the way, nobody cares. Nobody's attacking you. Nobody's doing anything. That is not a thing that happens. But before, you were just able to like throw your little name at it. Oh, you're a homophobe. Oh, you don't want me to be able to be married to my wife. That's not what we're saying at all. Also, that's not going to happen. Like it's the whole thing that we talked about briefly with the SecDef and the women in combat exclusion, right? He's not going to take that away. He can't. No. It's entrenched in law. It's entrenched in a thing. Like the toothpaste is already out of the toothpaste tube. So you're good. So
I do like that. I don't even know what show that is, where you have the table with the clock in the middle
and people with red. Yeah. They just sit down and they just go at it. Yeah. I don't know what that is either. I've seen clips of it.
Yeah, I've only seen clips, but I tell you what, like I am not a very good debater, or at least politically anyway.
Right.
But that's a wild ass concept, and for somebody to be able to sit in there and like do that is
put me in that chair, homie. Awesome. Oh man, that is boy.
You would do well in it.
I have 40-minute showers where I just think about this stupid stuff, because again, like I ain't get people try to hit me in the comments, even with us, like people try to hit me in the comments and they think they're going to hit me with these gotcha questions. Like, let me just tell you, this is the first time that you've had this conversation, right? Like these people that hit me in the comments were like, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about Jan 6? And what do you think about Trump did this? And what do you think about this? That's the first time that you've engaged with me on that topic. It is the 1,000th time that I've engaged with somebody that thinks they're smarter than me on the internet on this specific topic. I have so many more reps than you do, because I have so many more followers than you do. And I have much more of a platform than you do. And I like all of these things, like when you, and we'll go all the way back, but like to you know, when somebody gets all butthurt about me telling them that I don't give a shit about their squat or their clean and jerk as it applies to the IFT and getting into the Air Force Special Warfare pipeline, what's the first thing that they do? Oh, well, I asked him a question and he wasn't professional in his answer. I don't care. I have thousands, maybe tens of thousands more data points than you do. I know better than you do. Like, I'm sorry that I didn't walk you into I didn't hold you by the hand and, you know, really coddle you to where you finally realize that I'm right. And I pay a penalty. Well, I don't pay a penalty. Peaches pays a penalty because he has to answer the phone call every once in a while. I'll be like, what the fuck's up there? I don't like the way he talks. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
I don't care either, to be
like,
clear.
well, yeah, it's one of these things where I'm just like, listen, you'll either get there or you won't. You know, there, you know, I love, it was a thing. Every once in a while you make a realization, you make your peace with an event, and then you just move on and you literally don't think about it anymore. And this is one of those things that I don't think about it anymore, because there are people out there that are like begrudgingly have to admit that what I'm saying is correct. And it's in the most clear and concise and efficient way that I possibly can. It's just, I don't give a shit about your feelings. This is why I was never meant to be a strategic leader, because I can't sit at a table and play these little reindeer games of like, well, let's really unpack this. If I could offer, I just want you to really look at it from this optic, because if we really just pull the thread and see how the sausage is made, I think that we're going to shut up. No, you're wrong. That's stupid. We're not doing it. Moving on. I don't have time for this. Right.
Oh, man.
Like, that's it. Like, it infuriates me. People are like, oh, I want you to be, you know, and in the military, people be like, well, I want you to be professional. Oh, you mean lie? You mean talk how you don't like? It always made me so mad when there was like a senior leader that would, behind closed doors, would be a completely different person than they would put on like their commander like affect before they would walk out of their office. I'm like, you disingenuous liar. You are literally playing a role to other people. I can tell you, I am not playing a role. You don't know me because we're not on the, you don't know me.
Oh, it is not an act.
Right. No.
And especially after this many hours of content,
you would think it would slip. The mask would slip at one point.
You can't fake it.
Yeah. And I think that's and we should end on this, but I think that's the reason why that we're still here. You know, there, every once in a while, people are like, gee, like, you guys have just been like steadily growing for the entire time that you've been here. You've still been here. You know why? Because we're not trying to. There was times in the beginning where I was like, man, I feel weird. I don't feel good. I feel like we're trying too hard to do something. We've evolved into, man, we are who we are. If you DM us, we'll have a conversation with, like, DMs don't sit in our inbox. We talk to thousands of people a month to try to help.
Take a little bit to get to, but yeah, at least on my end.
right.
Sorry if you sent me a DM and I haven't
right.
got that.
But like, I talk to you exactly this. I leave voice notes. Ask anybody that I leave voice notes all the time. I'm like, hey, sorry. Sometimes when I text, I come off like a dick, but here's what I'm trying to tell you. But that's who we're here to get you the information. We're here to be transparent. We're here to give you access to people that have actually done the things that you want to do. Like, you want to talk to somebody that's going to guide you and mentor you and be a little bit more, you know, a little bit less heavy handed, I would say. Just hit Peaches up, man. You know, you want to talk to Trent. Trent is highly motivating. You want to come to me because you have an actual question. You want to get it done the fastest that you possibly can. And you're probably going to have to deal with me telling you suck. Okay. Hit me up. I like,
yeah, what flavor do you want?
Well, yeah, exactly. Right.
You get 3 different flavors to choose from. You got
okay. That's a good question.
Who's super soft, right?
So what flavor would you be? I think you'd be like strawberry, you know? I'm
probably vanilla. Like, let's be real.
No, come on. See, I don't think Trent's vanilla. I think Trent would be vanilla. I think you would be strawberry and I would be like black licorice or like candy corn. You know, like nobody actually likes me, but every once in a while, like I pop up, like every once in a while, like Halloween, you know, candy corn pops up and there's a very small segment of the population that really likes candy corn. You know what I mean? But the rest of the year, the rest of the year, useless. And then they hate it. And then they despise it. And people have really strong feelings about candy corn.
Well, what flavor would be sarcastic? Sour? Some kind of sour flavor? Because that would be Trent. Because he's so sarcastic. He's so dry.
That's it. Well, no, I mean? Well, yeah. I'm trying to think what like a dry.
And not only can he hit you with a good, like, you know, motivating kind of thing, but he can also just tear you down like with sarcasm, and you're like, wow,
I got it. So
didn't see
Trent's
that.
a Sour Patch Kid because
There you
first
go.
he's sour, but then he's sweet.
Yep.
Okay, so Trent's a Sour Patch Kid. I'm candy corn.
I'm vanilla with like maybe some crushed Oreos or something. I don't know.
You're Bananas Foster. That's
Oh
who you
God,
are.
Banana
Fancy.
Fosters.
I don't know. I don't know if that fits your personality type. I just know that it's your favorite dessert.
You just know that I'll freaking tear up some. So so I do want to before we end, I do want to say this quote because I just heard it. So Dan Holloway said it, and I had never heard it before, and maybe this is just because I'm a uneducated swine, but
Got it.
but I was like, holy cow! In a time right now that we are living in, like this just resonated with me, and I heard it yesterday. Quote: "The streets are extended gutters, and the gutters are full of blood. And when the drains finally scab over, all the vermin will drown. The accumulated filth of all of their sex and murder will foam up about their waists, and all the whores and politicians will look up and shout, 'Save us!' And I will look down and whisper, 'No.'" I was like, and that's Alan Moore from The Watchmen. I was like, I heard that yesterday. It's like, dude, that's awesome.
Good. I just have zero. I referenced kind of this earlier conversation that we were having. We were talking about politics and the overarching the overarching ideological standpoint that we were kind of operating at. Like I was a point and this other guy was a counterpoint. The other guy's a good guy. I don't want to take anything away from him, but he was just like, I think we should have standards in politics, and Matt Gaetz isn't the right pick because he doesn't whatever. He was like, I think we should be focusing on bringing people to the table and whatever else. And I was like, this is why conservatives have lost forever, because we're playing a game that nobody else is playing. It's so crazy to look at these last 4 years. These generals. Did you see the thing about the Terminal CWO about the chief of the command or the chief master sergeant of the Air Force hit Sam Shoemate up directly and was like, "Hey, oh, dude, go watch that video." So Terminal CWO. So the government essentially, like all of these new dudes, the people that are putting together these list of people that are like, "Hey, we're gonna go after these generals whatever."
Oh, it was the SimSAF.
Yes. He said he called it a command master chief in the Air Force, and then in the comments he's like, "I meant chief master sergeant in the Air Force." So I don't know who
I thought he meant he was just talking about a normal chief master sergeant of the Air Force.
No, yeah, so not a chief master sergeant in the Air Force. I believe he said chief master sergeant of the Air Force. Anyway, so I don't know who it was, but like now people are like, "Hey, we really need to we need to bring it back to normalcy," and it's always the conservatives doing this, right? For the last 4 years, you wanted to trans the kids. You wanted to have people with fake boobs on the White House lawn taking selfies that are, were men that are now females. You want to have all this stuff, like the absolute, just like that quote says, all your sex, your depravity, your disgusting behavior. You want to have Gretchen Whitmer feeding feeding a hot Dorito as if she's doing it like communion in the face of everybody, like pissing people off. And now you want to forgive and forget. And now you want us to be, and I was like, no, absolutely not. I was like, the only people that I want to bring to the table at this point are people to see the heads of their decapitated friends that I brought into the room just before them. I was like, this isn't how you win a war. You know how you win a war? You put the heads of your enemies on pikes and you breed them out of existence and you wipe their history out. Like I do not want discourse. I do not like, people are like, "Oh, well, you can't legislate morality." Yes, you can. Yes, you certainly can. The president made Easter a trans day of visibility. He legislated that morality. Okay. Well, now we have all the levers of power. Now you've set the precedent for all of these things. People are like, "Oh, well, we shouldn't have recess appointments." Shut up. Yes, we should. I don't care. You think Matt Gaetz is the wrong pick? Tight. You're a guy on the internet. The president who got a mandate and the electoral college and the popular vote and the House and the Senate said that he's the pick. You better 100% of Republicans better vote for him or you primaried. You're out. Strip your committee assignments. You're gone. I don't care. It is not, you do not win a war. How well did winning one battle and then bringing your enemies to the table? How well did that work in Afghanistan? Did we win that war? No. And why did everybody say that we didn't win the war? ROE is too constrictive. We weren't allowed to do what we were allowed to do. Why doesn't ISIS exist? Because we slaughtered them. because we murdered every single one of them in their homes and all of their family members and anybody that would hoist that flag. That's why, because we actually did what we were supposed to with ISIS.
Yep.
I am going to do that politically for the next forever, because this soft, lukewarm, bullshit, and conservatives are the only, you look at, vote blue no matter who, they get in line right away. Like, look what happened in the primary. They put Kamala up and everybody just fell in line right away. Okay, yeah, tights, Kamala. Yeah, no primary, no problem. Hey, sorry, yeah, no, threat to democracy. No, got it. We're facing Hitler. We got to get in line, right? They're so much better at that than the other side.
They really are.
And now people's like, oh, well, I don't know. I just think that there's better choices that have less baggage. Shut up. Just shut up. You should get primaried. I want a SecDef that says women don't belong in combat roles. I want Matt Gaetz to flame everybody because he's younger and he understands how social media works. I want Elon Musk cutting down to 99 governmental agencies. Okay. That's what happens when you have power. You pull all the levers, all of it.
That's going to be an interesting 4 years. That's for sure. Everybody head over to ONESREADY.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification button. And then, appreciate you joining us.
It's a fun one.
Yeah.
It's not what we talked about. We're going to talk about the school thing later.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
We'll do that later.
It's fine. We'll
figure it out.
All right.